Let's bring in the professor. I don't know if he was involved. Were you watching NBA action last night, Professor?
Okay, Lubie and I have had this discussion. This whole South Florida thing that is deeply ingrained, we're like supposed to have these vicious, hated rivalries with the New York teams, is the most pointless freaking thing in the history of sports rivalries. Like, what's the point of hating the New York Jets? It's like hating the Jerry's kids. Like, they're this super loser franchise that haven't done anything since Joe Namath was there. You want to hate the Yankees? Fine. There's a point in hating the Knicks. The Knicks have had like one moment ever, and it was in, 1971?
73, yeah.
73, literally 52 years ago. Come on, they had Ewing for 20 years, and they sucked the whole time. The one time they got into the finals, they got smoked by a Houston team that was literally like Hakeem Olajuwon and four guys from the YMCA. Like, want to hate the Patriots? I mean, that's like hating Russia. Like, you should. If you want to hate the Celtics, yeah, they've got like 97,000 banners. Jayson Tatum's probably the most annoying personality in the history of the NBA, just because he wants to be the star that he's not so badly. It's just like you could smell the pick-me coming off of Jayson Tatum. You want to hate those teams? Cool, go ahead and hate those teams. But like this weird thing in South Florida, where our rivals or whatever team is from New York, is so freaking pointless.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest. The man in the stripes is one Mike Lubie Lubitz, and I know you're going to love it here today, Lubie, because two things that are great about doing any kind of sports talk, whatever format you happen to be in, whether it's radio, whether it's TV, whether it's streaming, right here on Bleacher Brothers, and our outlets all around the country where people are looking to you for wisdom, and in this case, sometimes just bizarre speculation. And we always love it when we can combine conspiracy theories, Lubie, and then pure prophecy. Conspiracy theories and pure prophecy. Now, if you go back, the prophecy goes back to Friday's edition of the program and the professor and the big board. And what does he have? I don't even know how he conjured this up, but the man is a visionary. The man must be involved in matters of the occult. Picture that he posted on his big board of Jayson Tatum. Now, we know his bias against Boston teams. Yes. It tends to be a little bit over the top, but nonetheless, that's what makes for entertainment. That's, after all, isn't that the goal, people? Mm-hmm. It's entertainment. When people start screaming at each other, I never got this. I guess that falls under the banner of entertainment, but if your idea of entertainment is two people screaming at each other, I don't care what you think. I think you've kind of lost the point. I mean, if you were searching somewhere in your soul for the meaning of life, that could hardly be what it consists of. Just yelling and screaming at each other. You could just get married and do all of that. You
exactly.
Have a sports talk show. How did that fall off the wall? Well, it wasn't really stuck on there very well. But nonetheless, the arguments should be left for that. And look, you can always make a case that something that you think is out of sync with what everybody else in the world thinks when it comes to sports. But he has this depiction of Jayson Tatum, and he says, at what point in this series against the Knicks is Jayson Tatum, to save face, going to have to fake an injury and bow out of the critical portion of the series? Now, it didn't appear he was faking yesterday, so that tended to be a little bit of an exaggeration, because what was the first thing you thought when Tatum went down? Achilles.
Yes.
Like a snapped Achilles. I don't even know that he needs to go to the MRI. I'm no doctor, Lubie. But after a while, remember, I don't know, you probably were too young to remember the time where everybody was asking sportscasters to do diagnosis of injuries.
Yep.
And the guy would actually come on the air as if, the one thing I always loved about it is people assume that you were a mind reader. Hey, what do you think he was thinking when he shot that ball from three-point range? I don't know. What am I, a mind reader? What do I look like? What was that? Redgrave? Was it Lynn Redgrave? Which was the one that was into all kinds of bizarre metaphysical type of stuff and believed it wholeheartly? Who was the one, too? Was it Dionne Warwick that then ended up in some scam thing?
She was a psychic.
I mean, we don't necessarily have any psychic powers. If we did, we'd be filthy rich betting sports.
Exactly.
all day long. But I would immediately have thought that the guy ruptured his Achilles heel. I don't know how severe, but didn't look too good, did it? Having done that not that long ago myself, I know the feeling. It's not pleasant.
Well, they had the other angle, and remember when Jalen Phillips did it? Like you can
Aaron
actually,
Rodgers, same thing.
You can actually see when the calf shakes, and that's usually you can just actually visibly see the Achilles rupturing or tearing. I don't know. We'll see. He's gonna have an MRI, but it's not good. I mean, the game was over at that point. The Knicks were up by double digits, and it was under 2 minutes. So I don't know. It reminds me of the hero play where you don't really see Tatum dive for balls ever. So he finally dived for a ball when the game was over.
I think he more fell than he dove. I don't know.
Maybe he didn't dove,
but
he was going for a ball, and then it happened, whatever you want to call it, which I don't know how often he does that. And we'll see what this is. I mean, the series, I said once I got to 3-1 was going to be over, but if it's an Achilles this late in the year, that you would think that would be a whole season plus. I don't know. I can't stand Tatum. I can't stand the Celtics, but I don't hope for injury on anyone. I know the professor was joking because they have done that. He did that versus the Heat in that conference finals in that game 7 where the Heat were blowing him out already. He gets hurt, but then you see him throughout the game streaking down the court, dunking on people, but he's mostly hurt. That's the faking injury part. That's rough and tough. And even when you can't stand a player, I don't hope for that for anyone.
No,
I
mean, you're never root for that unless you're in Philadelphia, and it's my
exactly with the Cowboys.
Darren Dalton's son at a father and son game. They're booing a 2-year-old. Pretty incredible because the guy's batting .214. There's a lot of cruelty involved, and I happen to like Jayson Tatum as a player. I think I don't know that he's the greatest player. Is he beating his chest saying that he should be? The professor's implication was that this is what he wants everybody to think, but I think he acquits himself very well. Every now and then he throws in a stinker. Who doesn't? Everybody does. We throw in a stinker every now and then. You might have thought yesterday's show was a stinker, or any time we were on last week. Who knows?
Exactly.
While we're saying, hey, I think we got the best show. And you have to believe. You have to be positive. And I'm sure to play at that level of competition, you have to believe that you are the best. But I don't think Jayson Tatum comes off as any kind of braggadocio, insufferable douche. I mean, he seems like he very quietly goes about his business. I would even consider him to be a little bit on the humble side. Would you, Lubie, from the interviews that you see?
I don't know. Supposedly he's a good guy from what you hear. He actually grew up from humble means and this and that. And he went to Duke and then is a Celtic. So, I mean, it's very clear to see why the professor can't
plays for 2 teams that the professor despises. And at this point, I'm not a big fan of either of those teams at all myself. So anyway, and I got a little Knick fandom in me. Let's face it, I grew up in New York. I'm a Knick fan. We watched the Knicks on TV. Was it WOR or WPIX? I'm going to say WOR carried one Knick game. Was it a week? Maybe every other week. Imagine that. You had to wait 2 weeks to see your favorite team play on television, Lubie. Wasn't nearly as prominent as it is today when you're, as we said, watching intercollegiate badminton and junior varsity, and that's all over ESPN or one of the major networks. So, Knicks, we thought they would take one at the Garden. I remember saying that in terms of prophecy. I was thinking after they took the 2, coming from behind by 20 in both games at the TD Garden in Boston, that the likelihood that they drop both games at MSG was probably prohibitive. And sure enough, they lost in somewhat convincing fashion. Made you believers that the Boston Celtics were capable of coming back and winning the second game at Madison Square Garden, leveling the series, and then putting themselves in a position to go out and win it, move on to the finals, where in all likelihood they're going to face the Indiana Pacers, who wait in the wings, up 3-1 of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And just to show you how it's impossible to change people's minds, the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight are 7.5-point favorites at home over the Indiana Pacers. And do we know the status of Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he playing? It looked like it. I mean, if you watch the first half and the injury he suffered and the way he was getting pounded in this series, or just from exhaustion alone, the way this guy's trying to carry the load for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you would have thought their chances tonight are suspect at best, Lubie.
Yep.
So they'll probably win by 30. I mean, we've seen that happen in the series. Just when you start to believe something, that's what makes gambling such a sick endeavor. Just when you think you're onto something, boom, they pull the rug right off,
Exactly.
right off from underneath you. So in this Knicks game last night, the Celtics looked like they're in pretty good shape, didn't they? And they're getting a giant ball game out of Jayson Tatum. I mean, before he went down, which was late in the game, as you said, 42 points, 16 of 28 from the field, 7 of 16 from three-point range, and 4 steals on top of that. So he's playing a well-rounded.
No, he was all over the place.
Incredible, versatile effort. And it wasn't enough as the Knicks started to rally back. Big third quarter in both of the games last night by the winning teams in the NBA. Knicks goes 37 to 23 in the third quarter last night to get back on top and in control of the game. They're getting 5.5 points from the odds makers, 2-1 on the money line you're getting on the New York Knicks. So the non-believers got crushed as the Knicks come up with a big win. They're now up 3-1 in the series, would appear to be in complete command. And it's hard to imagine. I mean, even Willis Reed, I don't think, would be able to limp out on the court after what we saw. No. Level of severity. Here I am playing doctor on TV, but
I mean,
Marcus Welby time for me. But I didn't see that looking very favorable. Did you?
No. When they showed that angle where you see the actual flexing of the calf, and it wasn't a demonstration of strength, like whenever they see that or show that, you know what it is. I mean, he was crying, banging the thing, like. He's done for this series, and he's probably going to be done for all next year. And it now puts the Celtics into a lot of questions because they're like super capped out. And without Tatum, are you just going to throw away a year? Like, it's going to be interesting. And again, he's getting into that early 30s stage of his career. So, like, an Achilles is the kind of career when you're a guy that uses quick twitch, when you're a guy who uses speed and agility. I know the Achilles isn't what it was in Marino's day, but it's one of those injuries that it's not automatic that you come back and are the guy who you were before. Like there was a reason when he got hurt last night, everyone like around sports stopped and was like, oh shoot, like I can't stand him going down, whatever. But there's certain injuries where you're like, oh no,
I don't like to see it. Certainly improvements have been made. Oh, Danny boy, he was never really the same after that.
Never.
Still kind of walks with a little bit. I mean, he had that kind of gait anyway, but still, I mean, when you see him different places, Dan Marino,
a
little bit of a limp there. Not exactly Chester from Gunsmoke, but not Verbal Kent and the usual suspects, but a little bit of a. It's kind of his Italian swagger, but at the same time, you're thinking, is that thing still hurt, Danny? How's that feeling down there? You mind if I touch it? Very sensitive, the Achilles heel, no doubt, as they get more and more sore after wear and tear starts to pile up. Aaron Rodgers did come back from the Achilles injury. He was kind of coming back quickly, it seemed. Remember, he had an accelerated return, and everybody was saying, well, he may even come back in that same season where he got injured. Now, it was unnecessary because the Jets were horrible. And now what? The door has opened for Aaron Rodgers maybe to sign with the Saints instead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, where all the speculation was because Derek Carr's retirement. So interesting what happens in the aftermath of that. As you said, that'll lead to a lot of questions if it is as severe as it originally appeared to be. But we don't want to over-speculate on that.
Yeah.
So prophetic. I mean, we said the Celtics would not win both games at the Garden. Right about that. Professor said that there would be some point. I mean, a vivid illustration. If you saw the picture, we should go back. I don't know if you can dig it up. I guess the professor has that in his computer. But the picture of Tatum that he posted on the big board on Friday, definitely must-see TV. You should go back into the archives there on Bleacher Brothers and dig that up. It's about the last 20 minutes of the Friday show. And then conspiracy theories, Lubie, which I think is among your favorite thing to discuss on any sports talk topic. And we now have that with the NBA draft. That was Baylor.
No, it's a big look.
Patrick Ewing, 1984.
It was both. The whole. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your shtick, but that whole thing is ridiculous to me.
What I mean, could they really have rigged this? Nico Harrison. He seemed to be. I know. Look, a lot of people would have thought he would have done a disappearing act after trading Luka Doncic and realizing maybe how he said in the aftermath when he finally came out of hiding a month later and said, "Well, I didn't realize how popular this guy was." But what kind of crap is that?
No,
That's
out.
Like accepting a $400 million gift from a foreign government when you're the president.
Yeah, exactly.
You're shrugging it off and going, "What was I supposed to do? Say no?"
Yeah, exactly. Get out of here.
Exactly.
Come on.
You're supposed to say thank you, El Maktoum, but it's not happening.
Maktoum.
I don't know who it was. I mean, the guy in Qatar. Do you think Qatar is known for bribery? How did they get the World Cup there? Wasn't that when Sepp Blatter pulled that out of the hat and said, "And the World Cup, what was that? 2022 will be played in Qatar."
Yeah, we used to play that all the time. I mean, come on. Like, and
Maktoum got up. He had two of the hottest babes I've ever seen.
yeah, exactly.
Wearing them like cufflinks. It was incredible, and should have come as no surprise that they were in the bidding. And Sepp Blatter was then seen being escorted out of there. He looked like Juan Antonio Samaranch leaving Salt Lake City after they were awarded the Winter Olympic Games out of nowhere. And chained to his wrist, handcuffed to his wrist like he was some Russian rabbi with a bunch of diamonds in the Diamond District in New York, is an attaché case, and you had to assume that it was full of cash, no? So we don't know what happened there. I don't tend to believe that the NBA would have rigged this. Nico Harrison seemed to be very cool and collected, considering that he had made one of the most, in most people's opinion, bonehead trades in the history of the league. Now, did the league have an interest in having the Lakers look good forever? We don't know. I'm thinking they squeeze one more year out of LeBron. What's your speculation there, Lubie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to go out the way he went this year. I don't see him playing much more, though. Like, he's in his 40s now. He's
kind of crazy to do it, wouldn't it?
It's just not necessary. Like, he's got to play with his son a little bit, which was the dream, he said. He set his son up where he at least got some NBA money, and he showed some flashes. So maybe, like, teams are going to give him at least a chance. Yeah, I mean, and the Lakers aren't going full. I mean, if you look at the West, like, the young teams are only getting better. I mean, the Spurs, if Wemby's okay, are going to make a step. The Rockets are right there. The T-Wolves look like they're going to take a step. The Nuggets aren't going anywhere. The Thunder, like, to me, the Warriors and the Lakers are two teams that are on the ascension, not the ascension. So LeBron will probably do one more year because he seems like the kind of dude that wants that retirement send-off year. But after that, it doesn't make any sense to me for him to keep playing.
Yeah, see, and Andy always on top of it also. I mean, we talked about Ewing getting picked number 1 by the Knicks, and it seemed like everybody still to this day believes it was a rig job.
Yeah, it was rigged. Yep.
And they kind of came out of a back room, a smoky back room. It was like the meeting that some used car salesman has with his manager, where he says, you know what, I don't know if I can do this deal, but I'm going to go back and talk to Lou and see what he says. And then the guy goes back outside. There is no manager. He goes outside, has a smoke, comes back in and goes, you won't believe this, but if you can give us another $10 a month, we can make this happen.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of clandestine, did it not? Where they pulled the ping pong ball somewhere in the closet and then came out and, New York Knicks number 1. Here's Patrick Ewing. As if he was being served up as a little knish at a bar mitzvah on an hors d'oeuvre platter. And he went to the Knicks, and the Knicks had been floundering. And at least, look, they were predominant for a long period of time, as long as they had Ewing. So, it certainly was beneficial if they were looking to build up their big markets. Now, we know they want the LA market. They have the Clippers there, but nobody gives a flying one about the Clippers except Billy Crystal.
I mean, that's literally true.
The Clippers were a long-time disgrace. They were an embarrassment to the league for the most part when they were in San Diego. They moved to L.A. in Al Davis type fashion. I don't know that anybody was really overwhelmingly comfortable with that. And then, of course, Sterling, the owner, was a guy that everybody thought was he was a known rhymes with Rick.
Yeah.
Bastard. And the league had to put up with it, much like Bud Adams was in the NFL, and nobody ever said anything about it. Hey, Bud, what do you think about black people? You never heard Roger Goodell go on record and say, well, we really don't feel comfortable with Bud's stance on a lot of things. And the fact that he's wearing a sheet in a cone shape on his head while he's in the owner's box is not particularly flattering for the league's image about equality. And let's promote love and peace and togetherness.
Exactly.
What a bunch of BS that is, right? You've got like a blatantly racist owner in your collection of 32 owners. Very small elite club. And you're trying to profess that you're all about equality. Get the hell out of here, Rogers. You're all about the dollar. As is the NBA. Now, could they have rigged this, Lubie, to save the Dallas? Why would they want to save the Dallas Mavericks? It maybe goes a little bit deeper. You want to put another layer in there and say, well, because Nico Harrison might have been nudged to go ahead and trade Luka Doncic to the Lakers to continue and perpetuate them having a star power caliber team when LeBron this could be his last year. Maybe he decides to hang it up. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's feasible. I mean, they're teetering on oblivion, or Bolivian, as you like to say. So for him to come back, it would be to try and win, but they're not going to win. Like there's no move they're making this offseason that's going to
doesn't appear to be a championship caliber team.
So it's like, you know what? I know they're trying to throw Austin Reeves out there, and then maybe they can get an interesting, like a Bam Adebayo, which the Heat aren't giving him up. So like I don't see them improving that much. So to come back to be this again, I don't get it. I admit, I mean, they found a way to the 3 seed and then lost to a 6 seed in pretty depressing fashion. But he's LeBron. Like, he loves basketball. So I can see this year, next year, I can see it. We'll see.
Long shots come in, Lubie.
Yeah.
We were there when, you weren't with us the year Mine That Bird one. Was that the year? No, you weren't there that year.
I was Animal Kingdom.
Rich Strike a couple of years ago won and paid over $100. Animal Kingdom was like a $40 animal. Long shots come in. So this was just slightly under a 2% chance, 1 in 50 chance that they would draw the number 1 ping pong ball. And somehow, holy Elgin Baylor, somehow they did. The Mavericks end up now. Now, is Cooper Flagg really going to be? Do you see him being that kind of player?
Weird. Because we have so many drafts.
Be that great? I mean, or is he going to be the next Dalton Connect?
No, he's not Dalton Connect. Because of what Wemby was, people now, any player that's great, they're assuming they're Wemby. They're not Wemby. And now Wembanyama is dealing with the blood clot thing, but I presume he'll be okay, hopefully. Like, he was like a LeBron. Like, he's a guy that you could see winning MVPs. He's a guy that you could see contending for titles. Cooper Flagg isn't that level of prospect, but he's the tier right under, where you expect him to make all-star games. He is a guy that you expect to be able to build a franchise around. And the thing with the Mavs is, as much as that trade was weird, you did get AD, who isn't done. Before he got hurt, he was still playing at a top 10, 15 player level in the league. He's still an all-star. And he's a big, very reminiscent of Flagg. He's a guy that is not 7 feet, but he plays really good defense. He plays long. He can ball handle. He can facilitate. So it's literally a guy that Flagg can copy his game to grow himself. And then you have Kyrie Irving, still one of the best ball handlers in the league, one of the better guards in the league. So he doesn't usually, when you're a number 1 pick of his caliber, you're going to a team that was tanking. You're going to the Jazz, who have a bunch of guys that are okay. Like, he gets to go to a team that was flirting with the playoffs. And if those 2 guys were healthy, we're going to be an interesting team in the playoffs. And he doesn't have to be the number 1 or number 2. He can be the 3rd guy as one of these borderline generational prospects. That's the kind of thing that can push him over the top, is going to the right place. Like, him going there with Jayson Kidd's a solid coach, and they have actual stars already in place. And they're older. Like, even for as much of a jerk as Kyrie is, he's now in his 30s. Anthony Davis has had his issues. He's in his 30s. Like, they're at the age where they may be willing to and Flagg can help them win. They may be willing to actually show him the tricks of the trade, or when you're younger, you're more competitive. Yeah, that's why everyone's like, okay, this is weird, because he should go to there are teams that were horrendous and you pass them over. I like the idea of a lottery for this reason. I understand that's why we talk crap about the NFL draft, where people can tank. But it's annoying when it goes the other way. When, like, teams that are playoff teams find a way to get a generational player, and all these crap teams have to sit there muddling at the bottom.
You know my theory on this, which is that you should reward teams for playing well in the regular season.
And that's
what it does. Make sure that nobody wants to tank. And find a way. I guess that is their way from a mathematical probability standpoint. The Dallas Mavericks would have appeared to have had no shot of getting the number 1 pick or being anywhere in the top 5, which also, I mean, the Spurs might be the luckiest team in draft lottery history.
They are.
As they ended up getting the number 1 pick with Wemby coming out, and now they get the number 2 pick. 76ers, another team that forever they've been waiting to stockpile some talent, and they have, and they still can't do crap, can't get out of their own way for a variety of reasons, including injuries, which seems to be what makes them the most suspect. Joel Embiid, we don't know, is that guy ever going to play an entire season as a healthy player? It's hard to figure, because it seems like every year he comes into the season, they're going, he's got 2 ice bags on his knees when they throw the ball up for the original jump ball. Looks like Jim Otto out there, the old Raider. That would be the classic example of a guy who's debilitated so badly by playing football that you have to ask yourself, how can you condone this as a human being to allow guys to go out there and destroy each other like that? So the Lakers get their guy. Maybe, I mean, was that Lee Harvey Oswald that was sitting next to Nico Harrison when they lost that game to Memphis, which put them in the lottery? Otherwise, if they beat Memphis in that play-in game, they're not in the lottery.
Look, it's what happened to the Heat. The Heat, and there's always the Heat connection. That slot would have been the Heat slot. The Heat lost the pick, so they lost that slot. Now, again, it's not the slot. It's the balls bouncing, so it means nothing to me. Like, Heat fans are trying to go, see, I think the Heat, once they got swept, it would have been better to have that pick than get swept. Like, just to have the pick because they're getting a top 14 pick, and the Heat have done really well drafting in that area. But I don't think for a second, there's no way the Heat would have gotten.
So you think it's a conspiracy? You believe?
It's just weird. Like, and everyone I know that follows the NBA, and most of them aren't conspiracy people, we're all like, oh, there it is. Like, it makes that trade make a lot more sense. Again, Luka is overweight, whatever. He doesn't play defense. You see all those things. He's at worst a top 5 player, and at best a top 2 to 3 player. You keep him, and you just hope that you are the team that can figure it out. Like, you don't trade him for an aging star. Like, especially Anthony Davis got hurt like 10 minutes later. Like,
yes,
you just don't do that.
He was injured when he got into the car, when he got off the plane for the introductory press conference.
Of all people.
And I'm an Anthony Davis fan. I like Anthony Davis. And he was carrying the Lakers. It wasn't LeBron. He was carrying the Lakers throughout most of the season. He was their number one guy. There was no doubt about it. No debate whatsoever. It was, look, it's always good. I've said this forever. You put LeBron James during his career at any point, and maybe to a slightly lesser extent now, you put him on any team, they become a contender right away.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're losing ground by putting LeBron James on your roster unless you happen to trade your starting 5 for him. But that hasn't happened in his career because he's mostly left. I mean, he's left every time as a free agent.
Yes.
Which he ends up with the Lakers. He gave him got the championship with Anthony Davis, who was his right-hand man, his wingman. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that they busted that up. But to get Luka Doncic, all of a sudden, you have preserved into perpetuity, or at least not quite that, but by basketball standards, you probably have a minimum of 5 or 6 years of the Lakers being relevant with Luka Doncic. And now the Mavs don't pay the price, because they've been gifted, according to Mike Lubie, Cooper Flagg in this draft. And I'm still not sure that I see Cooper Flagg being that guy, but you're right. In combination with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and the rest of the Mavericks roster, not a terrible addition, a nice infusion of talent, even as a rookie. And if he does anything, I would think that he flourishes a little bit more as a pro than he even showed in college.
That's the thing. His game is actually very fluid, and and he wasn't AD in college. Like, he actually was, by the end of the year, was really good at Duke. I know that last game they all lost their mind the last minute and a half, but up until that point, he was playing for a guy that's like 18, 19 years old. He was playing at a super high level.
That's the other thing too. The guy's 19 years old. Pretty incredible. All right, so you're buying a conspiracy theory in the NBA. You're saying this was all a rigged job. This was Elgin Baylor sitting there with an omelet on his face, wondering, what the hell could I have? If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. One of my favorite songs. And that seemed to be the case for a lot of the teams in the NBA lottery as they watched the Mavs cruise in with the number 1 pick and Cooper Flagg. Interestingly, I was looking at an NBA mock draft just to see where these other guys, that this wasn't like a coin flip for Kareem.
No. Flagg's not that. Like, Flagg is a guy that you could see starting from day one and being a borderline all-star early in his career. He's not you're thinking he's going to take over the league. Like, he's not that.
No, I don't know that it's that. I mean, Kareem naturally first with the Bucks and a 90-year-old Oscar Robertson and Kareem win a championship.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then the Phoenix Suns end up with Neil Walk out of the University of Florida, who, as we mentioned on the show, if it wasn't for Paul McKeskey of back in the day, the Bucks, he probably played for some other teams. McKeskey, one of my favorite players in NBA history, because I like lame big guys. I just do. But if it wasn't for McKeskey, Neil Walk would have held a distinction. I mean, he rest in peace. But he would have held the distinction of having the hairiest back in NBA history. without any doubt. I mean, it looked like he just put a rug there on his back. So that was the excitement last night. It took a lot of attention away from the games. Knicks, a huge win at the Garden, 121-113. Jalen Brunson, are you willing to open your mind up a little bit to the idea that those fadeaways that he hits off the 16 head fakes and twisting, turning, I don't know, is he changing pivot feet? It doesn't even appear that he's walking. Mentioned Jerry kids in the opening. Look at us, we're walking. Was that Jerry's kids? I think so, yeah. I mean, that could be the theme of the NBA, that they shouldn't even have that. It should just be, look at us, we're walking. Because they are. They're traveling on every freaking play. It's amazing. Now, Brunson, how he does that, he would be a real pain in the ass to guard, wouldn't he, Lubie?
Oh, yeah.
And then they give him the flopping call. So it's not even like they call him for, what is that call? Embellishment.
Yeah, they don't. That's in hockey. They don't do that in the NBA. He gets away with that quite often. I mean, he's a really good player, and he's on the precipice of making it his second conference finals, I guess, because he made the conference finals as the number 2 for the Mavs. We'll see. The playoffs is all over for the NBA. It's the Pacers beating the Cavs and the Knicks beating the Celtics was not something I who thought the series would be closer than people gave credit. At least the Knicks Celtics series.
Does anybody have that in a parlay in our audience? Anybody?
Look, I was all in on the Cavs, so I was way wrong about that series. But this series, I thought would be close. I didn't see this. I mean, I know Tatum's hurt now. He wasn't hurt the whole series. He played his best game, one of his best playoff games of his career, and he's played a lot of playoffs. And they still were losing by the end of it, double digits when that play happened, under 2 minutes. The game was over, and he had a great game. And they shot the lights out. They did all the things that the ESPN people said, when they do that, they're going to win big. The Knicks were and Brunson was toe-to-toe with them. I mean,
39 points, 14 of 25 from the field, 4 of 8 from three-point range.
I didn't see that at all.
How about the Tom Thibodeau system? Brunson plays 40 minutes, Towns 35. That was the lowest among the 5 starters.
Oh, Jesus.
Although Hart might have played a few less minutes because he was in foul trouble. Then you had Bridges played 44 minutes. And Anunoby played 39 minutes.
They have no bench. Their bench sucks. It's almost non-existent, and they barely go to it. And that's the problem. That's what's gonna get them later, because the Pacers have a nice bench, and the Pacers love their bench. So, and the Pacers put them out last year. Like, people are like me walked right past the Pacers. The Cavs were healthy for most of the series, and the Pacers were just dominating the crap out of them.
Took them to the wire to wire. Speaking of which, later on today, 12 o'clock. Been kind of juxtaposing the times here a little bit on our conversations, but this is to capitulate to the fact that our special guest, Umberto Rispoli, the jockey on journalism, 8-5 favorite after the draw for post positions for the Preakness, is on the West Coast and is going to be joining us. So I guess he's working horses in the morning, and so 9 o'clock West Coast time, 12 o'clock here on the East Coast, should be joining us for conversations along with, and you talk about putting goosebumps right down your spine. I listened back a couple of times to the Call of the Derby by Larry Colmus on NBC, who's also going to be our guest on the show. And he's good friends with Umberto. I didn't realize this, and I thought this was the case, but the memory not being what it once was. Umberto Rispoli, when he came here, he's of Italian descent, started his career in Europe. So he was used to riding in fields of 20-plus. He's been in 3 derbies. That was his 3rd derby ride on journalism. And he began here in Florida. I think he was here at Gulfstream Park, Umberto Rispoli, and then he moved his tack to California as the great jockey agent Ron Anderson, who said, you are destined to be a star. He was riding in Hong Kong Jockey Club, and the races there where they have fields of 25 in low-level claiming races. It's amazing. So he's used to the traffic. He did get squeezed really badly. I was watching the race again at the start of the race with journalism. I'm not sure how much that compromised his chances of winning. Made a big move on the turn. Looked like he was going to prevail, and then Sovereignty came and mowed him down. And the horse that was really flying at the end was Baeza in the Kentucky Derby. But we'll get into a little Preakness preview. The field is not going to be as large. I believe it's a field of 9 going postward in the Preakness. You do have a couple of horses that raced in the Derby, including Sandman, who was highly regarded, finished 7th in the Kentucky Derby, and he's listed at 4-1 odds, and also on Bleacher Brothers, the influencer guy who owns a piece of Sandman.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name? Is it Griffin?
Oh, I don't know.
He's got like 10 million followers on TikTok, Lubie, right up there with you and what you're doing. And he's going to be a guest on Thursday night on the Bleacher Brothers show. So a very interesting story how, A, he made it as a social media star, and then B, ended up in horse racing, and now he's like he's the young face of, they're always trying to get young people involved. This is a way to do it, Lubie. Get some guy in his 20s who's got 10 million followers on social media, and he couldn't look any happier than he is being a part of the scene there. So he's got Sandman, who ran in the Kentucky Derby, going in a Preakness, going to be on Bleacher Brothers tomorrow night with our good friend A.J. Johnson and his crew. And that gets underway at 7 o'clock. But today at 12, if you want to catch a nice preview of the Preakness and get inside the head of the guy who rode in the Kentucky Derby, Umberto Rispoli and Larry Colmus going to join us on Conversations. All right, we're coming back with more. We barely scratched the surface here, Lubie. We got all caught up. Typical, right? We would say, hey, why would they waste their time with conspiracy theories? And we spent 37 minutes talking about a conspiracy theory. Good stuff, Lubie. Always great to speculate. Without speculation, what would sports talk be? So, and the other game, of course, in the NBA, the Timberwolves prevailed. Are they struggling a little bit more with Golden State than you would have imagined, especially since Steph Curry's not in the lineup? Does that discourage you from thinking they have any shot against whoever prevails in the other series between OKC, which many people are already conceding that series to OKC, 2-2 against Denver, and they have Game 5 tonight coming up in Oklahoma City. So is this the end? Is this where they put the final shovel of dirt over the grave of the Denver Nuggets this year? It'll be a pivotal Game 5, no question. You could characterize this game as pivotal. So it'll give Oklahoma City 2 shots to win, and one of those would be in Game 7 at home if they drop Game 6. So huge ball game tonight between Oklahoma City and Denver. It's been a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde personality out of the Denver Nuggets.
Yep.
Oklahoma City had that one bad game, but bounced back nicely. And Denver's getting 10.5 tonight. And like I said, I mean, a surprise to me. Am I just dead wrong about this? How do you not take 7.5 points with the Indiana Pacers against a possibly compromised Cleveland Cavalier team, even on the road?
Yeah, especially, again, we don't know what's going on with Mitchell.
Is there any word on this yet?
No, and
is Joni Mitchell going to play? I don't know. She's more likely to play than Donovan Mitchell from what we saw. But
I mean, if he plays, he's not going to be himself. I mean, the Pacers have sort of just controlled everything in the series. I don't know. I don't know what.
Run to the windows, people. Run.
Yeah.
If we recommend you sending in on Indiana, how much should I lose by? 15?
I don't know.
You had Z-Hockey last night also. Z-Hockey, we don't want to shoot the puck. The series that, as Doug McClain claimed, nobody cares about, Carolina, Washington. Washington looks like they're going down very quietly here to Carolina, 5-2 last night, up 3-1 now in the series. Carolina Hurricanes, which was, did I name more than 5 sleeper teams to win the Stanley Cup this year during the course of the season? I think I gave out Carolina at one point.
You did give out Carolina, yes.
Did I give out Edmonton also? I also like Las Vegas.
Sleeper. I mean, Edmonton's one of the favorites.
Edmonton, 3-0 shutout over the Vegas
they're hungry.
Golden Knights. That was a weird one. Isn't Edmonton, did they not have, was that the series? Yeah, Skinner was their goaltender, and this guy had been a human sieve. He had a horrible record in the postseason this year. He's in for the injured starter for Edmonton and shuts out the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So Edmonton now up 3-1 in that series and looking very much like contenders to go right back to the Stanley Cup final and redeem themselves. Well, how weird would that be if you had a rematch, Lubie?
Oh,
God. You want to run it back? It certainly looms as a possibility, Panthers-Edmonton in the finals again.
Oh, no, it's hanging because if you look at what the Panthers have ahead of them, if they can keep the momentum from the last 2 games and then someone get past the Maple Leafs, it's not like Carolina's good, but they've beaten Carolina before in the playoffs, and I think this is a better iteration of the Panthers. And the Oilers just seem really hungry. So,
playing well though. I mean, really playing well.
They are. If you look at how it's setting up, look, we'll see what happens tonight with the Panthers. If the Panthers can somehow win tonight, I mean, the people in the Eastern Conference are going to be looking right at the Panthers as the favorites.
Panther game's tomorrow night.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So they don't play.
Panthers Toronto is tomorrow. Tonight, just one game on the NHL slate, and it's another series that doesn't seem to be drawing a lot of attention here on the East Coast. As Winnipeg and Dallas. Dallas is at home tonight. They're up 2-1 in the series. The connection there, Peter DeBoer, who we also did talk with Doug McClain about, and he said of DeBoer that DeBoer is not really like a technical guy. I don't know that. I mean, does he combine a little Tortorella with Bruce Boudreau? As he's very quiet, though. Doesn't he seem very sedate, Peter DeBoer? You've seen him on the bench. He was a Panther coach. He was also coached against the Panthers in a playoff series when he coached the New Jersey Devils. He was out in San Jose. He had a pretty good run there. Did he coach Dallas? Yeah, he's coaching Dallas now, of course. So he's like one of these guys that according to Doug, players just like to play for. So we'll see if he can orchestrate this and get them into the Western Conference Finals. Big chance tonight to get a huge leg up on that. Possibility to go up 3-1 over the President's Trophy winner, carrying up. Tough to fight a curse, Lubie.
Yeah.
Is that the most difficult thing in life? When you've been cursed, somebody places a curse on you.
Yeah.
They put your picture inside the refrigerator just to put you on ice. And you find all of a sudden the worst of luck is coming your way. Once again, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie Lubitz. And once again, 12 o'clock today. And you're always, you're hoping you make the connection there, right? Because you just never know. I mean, that thing with Jayson Worth got a little sloppy when we had him on the show, and it was like 15 minutes into the time he was supposed to be on. And you're thinking, bleep, I can't believe I went through all of this, and it's going to be a bust. But I'm pretty sure Jockey's usually pretty reliable, Louie. Pretty reliable.
Yep.
And, this guy's a dashing Italian. If you see the Netflix series, which he's featured in, he really comes across extremely well and seems like a real gracious guy. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. 12 o'clock today, Umberto Rispoli and Larry Coleman's joining us for a Preakness preview right here on Bleacher Brothers. We'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:43. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, you had a picture up there for those that are getting the visual on the show, and there it is from the Professor's Big Board, which is a brilliant segment, by the way. Every Friday about 8:40, I'd say we get into it after some Australian rules football picks. Now that the football and college basketball season is over. And Jayson Tatum faking an injury. That was hardly the case, though, last night. See, now he's grabbing in front of his ankle there.
Yeah, I know. But it's the ankle.
But pretty wild all the way around. So, trauma. I mean, drama and trauma in the NBA. You have teams that you weren't expecting to be down 3-1. Certainly, the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs, that after that Heat series, the Heat can't be that bad, can they? Where they get pounded by 55 points by a team, and then the team comes back and finds itself in this abysmal, deep, and almost buried hole. I mean, this is where literally they're starting to read you your last rites, down 3-1 to an Indiana team that has some kind of spark working right now, and made a couple of sensational comebacks in their first series, and has done much of the same. Acquitted themselves very well. They were going against a badly depleted Cleveland lineup in the first couple of games, but then Cleveland got its players back, and they still prevailed. So
Yep.
we shall see. Is Rick Carlisle? What do you think? He actually, it looks like he has the head of a turtle, right? Whatever he's wearing, that athletic suit that he's wearing, comes right up to his chin, and then there's just a head sticking out there. Strange looking cat. Now, he's been highly regarded by people inside the NBA, but I find that he's rarely talked about him among the top coaches. I mean, is Rick Carlisle the equivalent of Eric Spoelstra in terms of in-game strategies, motivational tactics, and the ability to get a team to play at its ultimate level? Rick Carlisle, or do we just immediately dismiss him because we don't even know what team he coaches unless Indiana's in the postseason?
Look, he's been around a long time and he's won a lot. He's won a title. He's been to finals, plural. He seems to win wherever he goes. He's one of these guys that is seemingly doing more with less. He just doesn't get the credit like a lot of guys. Like you're right. I forget he's coaching most of the time. So, I mean, they got to the conference finals last year, whether it was injuries, whatever it was, they did get there. And it feels like they're going to get there again for a young team. Back-to-back conference finals is pretty legit. I mean, yeah, he's one of those. He's a really good coach. He's probably a Hall of Fame caliber coach that sort of just goes unsung.
Is there a coach left? Let's talk about the Eastern Conference here in the NBA. A coach left that you feel is a definitive difference maker. We don't know enough about Mazzulla, even though as a very young guy in his what was that? His first year as head coach, he wins a championship. Yes. Pretty unusual circumstances. Now, Ime Udoka, who got canned for what? Banging his secretary? Was that the deal?
Or something like that, yeah. Something
seemed odd. I mean, I'm sure they have some inside the company guidelines that Udoka was clearly in violation of, but nonetheless, and it's the old thing, Lubie, where you're asking, well, what happened to so-and-so? Udoka, in this case, he's about to become an embarrassment.
Yep.
So maybe that was it with the Boston Celtics, but he ends up with the Rockets. They have a good year, although didn't really measure up in the postseason this year. Kind of a disappointment that they lost to Golden State. Thought they had the goods to win that series. So I don't know what that says about Udoka. How much of a difference does the coach really make? Everybody's critical of Thibodeau with the Knicks. Mazzulla, is he being out-coached? He's up 20 points in virtually every game. And think about some of the derogatory, disparaging, and negative things that were being said and written about Eric Spoelstra when he was blowing 20 points all season.
Bingo.
I mean, what do you make of it? How you would have to think it was critical. I want to believe that coaching is important.
I think it matters. You would say Kerr, right? Kerr's the one that's won multiple titles, been to lots of finals, but without the minute Steph Curry went down, look, they went from
so that's a mark of a good coach.
They're in the games, but they're not winning. So I don't know if you can say Kerr, because if think they're about to be out of the playoffs, and then the rest of the coaches are a bunch of, I don't know. Mazzulla won a title last year, but how much was it him? When things are tough, he doesn't make the move that makes them better. The Thunder, I don't even know their coach. They're just sort of.
Yeah, what's the cat's name? I mean, he looks like a kid, doesn't he?
I don't think it has any there. Like, I honestly don't think the coach has anything to do with their success. I think Presti has become like Riley level of greatness as a GM, or maybe even better, because he does it in the draft. Honestly, it's not really about trades with him. I mean, getting SGA was amazing. He was just like a part of a trade, and he becomes one of the best players in the league. But the coaching, to me, they change coaches all the time. I don't even know who their coaches are.
And the Denver coach, I couldn't name either.
Denver got Mike Malone.
Got rid of Malone, but yeah, who's the guy to replace him?
I don't know. Some young dude that
son of a coach or something.
He talks very confidently. I give him credit for being a guy that no one knows and has nothing to do with the success of a team that's all veterans and probably doesn't even listen to him. They just didn't want Malone there annoying them anymore. Like, Malone would have been the guy, because I like Malone. I thought Malone was very Spo-esque.
Yeah.
And they got tired of hearing him. So it's the only coaches I would say.
Malone was like watching Nick Nolte in a basketball movie.
He did yell.
Wasn't it? I mean, he just seemed to be that kind of coach.
Yeah.
Not a Hackman type, but more like a Nick Nolte. And Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, whatever led to his dismissal there. It wasn't like he was Nick Nolte in that mugshot. I don't think. I don't think it was
No.
any kind of behavioral thing. Just the players supposedly got tired of hearing the message. But what's ruining them is not coaching, though. It's missing all those 3-pointers, which was the same problem that the Celtics had in the first couple of games against the New York Knicks. And yet Kenny Atkinson is the other guy in that quartet in the Eastern Conference that you're thinking,
I don't know.
if coaching makes a difference, who has the biggest advantage there? Atkinson was a coach of the year. People always love Kenny Atkinson, and they go back. We had Len Robbins on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the job that Kenny Atkinson did when he was the coach of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
And they decided to part ways with him. Then he became a longtime assistant with Golden State, sitting on the bench. He was the guy next to Steve Kerr for many years. And you thought, when's he going to get another opportunity to coach? He gets his chance, becomes a coach of the year in his first year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, in spite of the fact that that award clearly, Lubie, at 9-1 should have gone to J.B. Bickerstaff.
I definitely don't think that the Cavs should be struggling with the Pacers the way they are. Like, I know they've had their injury problems, but to be down in that series the way they're down and to lose the way they're losing, it's the opposite for Atkinson. Like, I think it's putting a microscope on him. Like, I think it's showing that, it wasn't Atkinson. Like, they just have a really good, talented regular season team that every playoffs, between injuries and just not being up to the task, like Donovan Mitchell and company, sort of fall short. I don't trust any of these. Like, Thibodeau is killing his players right now. Look, they need to do everything they can to get past the Celtics, but they're going to have nothing left versus the Pacers.
Yeah.
They can say that that's not true. You saw it last year. You saw it in the Pacers series where they literally looked like an old car falling apart in front of your face. Like, Hart got hurt, Brunson got hurt. When you are fatigued is when you leave yourself open to injuries. You can't play 44 minutes in games and then come back again, because they give you a day here and there, but they're not giving them weeks. Like, these series are going to go long enough, or they're all going to end at the same time, the way this 3-1 stuff is going, that the Knicks aren't going to get like 6-7 days between the series. And the Pacers are
they're earning their money. There's no doubt. Anybody in the Knicks starting lineup, no matter how much they're making, they're earning it. Because they definitely are making some kind of human sacrifice there. It's almost as if Tom Thibodeau is in favor of the human sacrifice.
Honestly,
it wouldn't be surprising if he just burnt a guy right there to give an example of what it takes to win a championship. Just set one of his bench players on fire out there on the court. Don't they? I mean, they look as dogged as when you always see, and it always kind of brings me a little component of joy, even in the worst trade in basketball history. But when you saw Brittany Griner traded for the merchant of death, Victor Boot. But they have that look after playing 45 minutes a game of the people that you see in a prisoner exchange, don't they? Where even their own relatives can't figure out which one is Joe? I don't mean to make light of that situation, but
no, but it's true. Like, when you said
they just don't look the same. They don't look right. I mean, look like they're going to need plenty of the people that came back from outer space, right, after being up there for 9 months. They didn't look exactly normal, did they?
Oh, they were shell shocked. That's how the Knicks look. All of Thibodeau's players, whether it was the Bulls, the Teals, or the Knicks, always look like that. And he gets everything out of them, but then they hit their wall. Like, you can't have. Oh, this guy had 40 minutes and he was our least minute guy. Like,
imagine that. What is every game in overtime? How the hell do you have a guy averaging 42 minutes a game?
I mean, come on.
It's crazy. All right, the hockey game tomorrow night. Let's get into that a little bit because I don't know. It's hard to generate any steam unless we have a big following in Winnipeg. I guess Dallas, the Dallas Stars have a following around the country.
No.
I'm thinking no. The Mavericks barely do. When they had Doncic, of course, they were followed internationally. And then after the trade, nobody gave a flying one about the Dallas Mavericks. And now everybody cares about him again because they're going to have Cooper Flagg. He was highly touted. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that I'm curious to see how effective he is in his first year in the NBA. So that's something that we can look forward to, the anticipation of him playing at that level. Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Old Man Mo would clearly appear to be on the side of the Florida Panthers, would it not? Mike Lubie, dominating performance, even though there were many chances for Toronto to score against Bobrovsky, who didn't face that many shots, but those that he did have to stop required the best of Sergei Bobrovsky. 2-2 now, going back to Toronto. Home ice, as we know, is not necessarily a huge influencing, deciding factor in NHL playoff games, although I believe it's held up very well and very favorably so far this year. Unlike the NBA, where road teams were winning as a matter of routine. In fact, they won the first 5, right, on the road. The road teams won the first 5 games in the second round of the playoffs. And we've seen that it's no guarantee that the home team is going to win. Usually somewhat of a given in NBA circumstances. Maybe part of the reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers are giving 7.5 points tonight to a team that looks like they have their number, the Indiana Pacers. Mm-hmm. But what do you make of it? I mean, hard-fought series, as almost all of these NHL playoff series are. Toronto Maple Leafs with a choking tag. Their last championship goes back to Punch Imlach. I don't know if you remember that guy, a legendary figure in NHL history. And they've had a tendency to fold up like a cheap suit. Damn. In these circumstances. Panthers, very aggressive so far in this series. I mean, you would have to say that if you could define, if you had the aggressivometer, the aggressive meter, would you give the edge to the Florida Panthers? And what do you think coming into this? I know you're a Panther fan, Lubie, so that might influence your opinion.
100%, yeah.
Who emerges with that win? We'll get more into it tomorrow, but what do you think? I mean, that's a tough one to judge.
I don't know. The Panthers, look, if they could keep, the first 2 games, they weren't running the forecheck like this. Like, and we had Ethan Skolnick on it, and he was like, well, they're just too fast. I'm like, no, they're not. It's not because the Oilers are faster. Like, no one's confusing the Maple Leafs with the Oilers when it comes to a scoring trio. Like, and the Panthers early and late in that series were able to control them. It's the Panthers were not getting out in the forecheck, and we know, and that's their thing, right? Like, when they're physical in the forecheck and they keep the puck out of the opponent's hands, it's really hard to beat them. And that's what you saw in the last 2 games was the Panthers controlled the game. Like, late in the game, you saw a couple chances leak out, but that's when Bob's at his best. If Bob has a clear night where he's not getting barrage, he'll make those saves where you're like, holy crap, good for him. He just can't get a lot of action because then he gives away 2 or 3 ridiculously stupid goals. Like, if they keep playing like that, then yes, I think they win the next 2 games. They just don't always do it. They don't always. It's their calling card, but you'll see them go an entire game where they're behind the 8 ball. So Toronto hasn't been the Maple Leafs of old, right? Like, even the 2 games they lost, they were in these games. Like, they're not giving the series away. They lose in
overtime and a 2-0 game with a late goal making the final margin, but it's 1-0 right until the whole game.
And this Wall, their backup goalie, is playing out of his freaking mind. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I've watched every minute of this entire series. It's a lot harder for the Panthers to score than it's been for them. Like, the Panthers have gotten lots of amazing chances and will get like a lucky goal. Like, or once in a while, they'll make a really nice goal. Like,
a lot of ricochets off own goals, the Neymar syndrome. Yes.
So the Wall kid is playing really well, and that usually excites a team to see your backup like carry you like that. So I really don't know. Like, I could see the Maple Leafs winning the next one in I could still see the Panthers winning the series, but not winning the next, like winning 3 in a row or 4 in a row. Like, Maple Leafs have look really hungry. Like, they look like a team that hasn't won in 60 years. Like, and that scares me as a team that won last year.
It's great to have this level of anticipation about things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not convinced. With the Tatum injury, it would convince me that the Knicks can't lose 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's done. No, that series done.
I'm thinking that's toast, but I don't know that I trust them enough to not consider that Boston could somehow manufacture a win in Game 5 back on their home wood, and force the Knicks to come up with a big one at Madison Square Garden, where how many times have we seen deflated Knicks fans throwing a knish on the sidewalk outside of the Garden as they try to make their way downstairs to the Long Island Railroad, only to have to wait hours to catch the train to Jamaica. Just depressed, looking to try and make sure. And this was my favorite thing when I would get on the Long Island Railroad many, many times to come back from New York City and or Shea Stadium. You wanted to find a bar car, Lubie, the bar car. That was a great innovation where they had one car on the train where everybody was drinking. Used to be able to smoke, which was also prohibited for me because I hate cigarette smoke. But and was extremely sensitive to it. A guy would light up a cigarette. There'd be 2 guys in the whole theater. Guy would light up a cigarette in the front row, and I could be in the back row of the balcony, and I had to leave. Jeez. That's the way it was. So how come I can tolerate cigarette smoke at the track, Libby?
Yeah, that's funny.
Because I'm so entrenched, so immersed in the betting and the degeneracy that I don't even notice what the atmosphere is all about, that they're poisoning my body as well as draining my bankroll. All right, we're going to try and help you build your bankroll up later on today, 12 o'clock if you're around, and then that'll be archived here. Bleacher Brothers a great job with that as we hope to make the connection. I hate to put that in that category, Lubie, but you know how this game goes. I believe that Umberto Rispoli is going to be extremely reliable and join us right at 12 o'clock sharp. And then the great Larry Colmus, chills, literally. That call was brilliant. There they are, nose to nose. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic and spot on. He saw journalism making a move on a turn, made a reference, and Rispoli steps on the gas and journalism making his move. It was fantastic. And then Sovereignty popped up right around the same time. They squared off inside the quarter pole and dueled it out. You could see that Sovereignty probably was going to get the better of it. And I'm curious to see, jockeys don't like to make excuses, especially long after the race is over. But that squeeze job at the beginning, everybody saw the Baffert horse veer out to the right and take out like 4 horses. But I don't know that had any huge impact on the ultimate outcome. But if you look to the outside, because there was so much turmoil and congestion there on the inside that it naturally caught your attention if you're watching the break of the race, which is so critical. But if you look to the outside, where you had Sovereignty was the 18 horse, and I believe Journalism was what? Was Journalism number 20 in that field?
No idea.
Could have been, but squeezed back and just had to take up a little bit, and could have been a big difference maker. So we'll find out more about that later on today on Bleacher Brothers at 12 o'clock. And Lubie, a great job today. A lot of fun. I know you love conspiracy theory talk. So when you said we're on today, we don't have any special guests or anything, I thought, well, this will be a breeze anyway, because
yeah, it was a very busy night.
These are topics that we can dissect like a fine surgeon. Unreal. Not that we're looking for anybody to learn anything. I mean, I remember some people always thought, well, you know what did you learn today on the show? That would be how some guys ended the show. I think the Jim Mad Dog Mandich used to do that. What did we learn today? So you learn nothing. You learn how to kill an hour. Who are you trying to fool? That this is like rocket science.
We're being told journalism was the 8 horse. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, the 8 horse. Okay. Yeah, that's right. You're right. The 8 horse. Middle of the like if you looked at the middle of the field there, then you'll see that he gets squeezed back between the 9 and the 7. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the next edition of the Defo Show, and catch you again at 12 o'clock here on Bleacher Brothers. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you on that.
The time.
There's a dog Skippy hates walking around the back there. So I'm glad he's barking, though. The kid's 17 years old. And
I love it. I love the life that he shows. Good for him.
He's up and down. I mean, dog dementia, you pet lovers probably have seen this. He's got a little bit of that working here. But I like when he springs back to life. So way to go, Skippy. I'm glad you contributed to the show. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.